$200,000. That is the amount of money that Chud the Builder has raised for his Give, Send, Go. Now, I have seen an overwhelming amount of support for Chud the Builder, and I've made 2 videos previously on the subject, and I got a question today in my inbox, and I want to read this question bar for bar. Thank you for the work that you do. I appreciate the videos you make. You're a massive support to me and my community. I love every video you create. Just a quick question. Why do people support Chud the Builder so much? I've never seen this kind of division in America. This all just seems so foreign to me. Maybe you could explain it better than I could. Well, to you who messaged me, I'm very happy you messaged me. Thank you. This is not new, right? Firstly, let's go over the support that Chud the Builder has been getting, and then I'll show you why it's not new. So let's bring up all of his support. Alex Rawson right here says that I speak for every single American when I say we stand with Chud the Builder. Now, this seems like a crazy statement, but this person is technically not incorrect. This person is not incorrect. I speak for every single American when I say we stand with Chud the Builder. Well, this person probably is speaking for the Americans, or the people who believe they're Americans, the American first crowd. So he might be 100% correct with that, as a lot of people don't think that black people are in any way, shape, or form American. Let's go to the next post. Chud the Builder was given a 1.25 initial bond pending his bond hearing. He was reportedly attacked before using his firearm and injuring a black man. The bond is higher than that of a black man, Antoine Crenshaw, who was arrested for first-degree murder and given a $250K bond in the same court district. It is higher than Carmelo Anthony's initial bond amount of $1 million and his revised bond of $250K. Anthony, after murdering Austin Metcalf, had his bond lowered, raised over $600K from the black community and others on GoFundMe, and is attending college. Now, the AF Post is very disingenuous with this, because what they don't really want to mention about Chud the Builder right here is that he was already out on bond. This person, I know we want to use whataboutisms all the time and talk about black people, always fun to do that. He was already out on bond. These 2 people were not already out on bond. When you are out on bond initially, and then you go and do another crime, you could get what's called an out-of-bail enhancement. An out-of-bail enhancement would raise your bond indefinitely. So, because he committed another crime while he was already out on bond, he ended up increasing his bond or his bail by an absurd amount, because that's what happens. You can get sometimes with 10 times increases or 20 times increases just based on that alone. Take it from me. I'm a convicted felon. I know this. I know the court systems very well. I understand it. I'm a convicted felon who also worked in a pro bono law office. I know the law. Like, I know law. I don't know Tennessee law that well, but I know initial laws and federal regulation laws when it comes to things such as bond and bail. It's very important to me. And also, a lot of people are thinking just because he raised a specific amount that he can get out on bond. And that's not initially true at all. So if we go to his Give, Send, Go, he has raised, well, this isn't that accurate. I think we can have an increasement. There we go. $206,000 as of me recording this video. $206,000. That's a crazy amount of money, you might say. This still will not be enough. They could freeze these assets. They could go crazy. They could say he's not allowed to these assets. They could use this as proof that he is going to get out and do the same thing again, because he's receiving financial support for a crime, essentially, or for harassment. Because these funds were raised on the premise of harassment, they could actually use that as evidence against him in court. This Give, Send, Go would actually be against him initially thing. And they're quoting the Bible, Revelations 2:9-3:9, be strong. He will be railroaded for his videos, but he's innocent self-defense. The system is designed to keep the white population control and allow nigs to run rampant. The system needs torn down. Chin up and keep going, bro. We need you. Considering your specific duty as a warrior, you should not waver. Indeed, there's nothing better for a warrior than a righteous war. You know what I mean? That's what it is. So hang in there. Self-defense. It's very important. All this support pouring out from the land of Wigeria. Oh, that's good. Keep standing up for the white people. You know what I mean? Just white people, strong together. We've lost our place in society over the past several decades. Be proud to be white. Being proud to be white is now considered racist. Also, keep calling people out who they are. If the shoe fits, without people like you in our society, we have no voice and no way to bond together as whites. Seeing your post inspires me, knowing that there are many out here who others like me. And now, this is very fun. A lot of people think that this isn't racist, and I'm very proud of all the people coming together and thinking this isn't racist. Here's some support. Here we go. Bada bing, bada boom. Free speech shouldn't be hindered because other people can't help champing out. Very fun using racist, inflammatory language. I like this a lot. I like this a lot because the person who sent me that message, didn't know about these people. Had no clue about these people. Didn't know these people existed. And I have this theory, right? I have this fun theory that I think that back in the day, we didn't have all these villages connecting, right? Online, we have an infinite amount of what I like to call villages connecting. All these different villages, all these different facets of life coming together to coalesce into one thing. We have the ability to connect with anybody, with the power and freedom to connect with hundreds of thousands of people in order to get all this support and ream support. And I'm very proud of people coming together and showing me who they are. Who they are. This is very important. We have other people saying things such as, if you don't support Chud, you're literally dead to me. This is Robin right here. Very big following. And all these are blue check marks, essentially. We see these blue check marks. People saying inflammatory things to get a bunch of support. This is their payday. So, thought I'd make this my payday as well. Except for this person, Professor Groiper. Funny how they said for years that the justice system was biased against black people, only for it to be the complete opposite of the truth. Interesting. I was like, they said the same thing about police brutality before widespread implementation of body cams. When light is shed on the issues of blacks in America, the true problem is revealed. Interesting. Now, these are all very interesting things, and a lot of people said that I was making all this stuff up when I was reading this stuff, and they said, well, I didn't see this on Twitter. I didn't see this anywhere. I didn't see any of this. This wasn't on my everything app. My ex, this wasn't my thing. And I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, Emmett Till was a young boy who was accused of whistling at a white woman. Now, you may be saying, what happened after Emmett Till whistled to that white woman? What happened after that exact moment? Emmett Till got beaten within an inch of his life. Now, how old was young Emmett Till, you may be asking? Emmett Till lived from July 25th, 1941, and died August 28th, a day before my birthday, in 1955. I knew about Emmett Till because around my birthday, my school would always talk about it. Emmett Till was a young, very young man, 14 years old, very young. If you don't know the story of Emmett Till, it's such a wild tragedy. This happened in 1941. Sorry, let me phrase that better. 1955. Now, you may be saying to yourself, that's so long ago. 1955 was so long ago. Age 14, body mutilated by a bunch of white men in an all-white jury. All-white jury. Now, what's an all-white jury? Racial discrimination and jury selection is specifically prohibited by law nowadays. They wish, you know what they wish to do? They wish to bring this back. They want to bring back the all-white jury because if a white man's on trial, that means the jury of their peers, and white people are their peers. That's what it means. People want to bring back the all-white jury. People have been protesting for the past, I don't know, 50 years to bring back the all-white jury. It hasn't stopped. People want to bring back the all-white jury because they say it's a jury of their peers. Now, what does Chud believe? What does Chud believe with his whole chest, mind, body, spirit, and soul? I want to hear from the man himself. Let's hear from Chud the Builder. I'd like to hear from him because we haven't heard from him in quite some time. Let's hear from Chud.
You see, the problem for them is everybody's watching this and we all see what's going on. I'm being persecuted for a law that does not exist. They're throwing bullshit charges at me to try to discourage me, to try to make me silence myself. Not gonna happen. It's not illegal to say, look at this guy harassing my community behind me. Look at this guy causing an issue in my community. He's chimping out. Call him a hard R and say, get the fuck away from me. In fact, get out of my neighborhood. That's not illegal. You know what it is? It's frowned upon to the people who want to keep us silent long enough to where we just go extinct. They know that white people are a threat to this system that they have going today. They don't want us to rise up again. I won't give up. Keep it coming. I'm going to keep speaking my fucking mind.
Very powerful language, and you have the ability to freely speak whatever mind you want to. As a matter of fact, you can use God as your witness, and you can use him as your shield to any prosecution you may feel like you face. And I 100% support using God as a way to fight your battles. Right? I think that's very important, to use a scapegoat when you don't have anything to back on. You know what I mean? It's very fun to do so. I so rarely have ever seen black people say that God wanted equality. mostly black people saying that they want equality. That's really what it is. Because if you tell a white man that God said he wanted equality, then it's disgusting. Now, what I want to do, I want to examine what a actual criminal defense lawyer said, and you tell me if you think Chud has any of these things going for him. This is actually very important, and this is very fun. It's actually sadly on the Fresh and Fit podcast, but this is also very important. So let's observe this for a moment.
Here's a tweet that comes from a guy named Amir King. He's been kind of giving updates on this situation. I think him and Chud are friends. But here's what he said, and this was a couple of hours ago. Quote, Chud update. Here are some fun facts that you'll see developing. The entire exchange was live streamed on Pump Fun. That's the streaming service I was telling you guys about before. The stream shut down at the first gunshot due to an automated AI response system. The stream is being subpoenaed. The facts according to over 100 witnesses watching the live stream. Chud told the guy, quote, I hope your day gets better, God bless, end quote. Then it goes, Chud had already walked away, was about 70 to 100 yards away. The man went out of his way to run up on Chud while his back was turned. He confronted Chud. He punched Chud in the face. Chud didn't instigate anything. Some of you are about to look absolutely stupid. Now, let's assume, let's take his bias here, because obviously he's his friend. But let's assume that this fact pattern is correct, and this is what actually went down. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, that looks a lot better than some of the alternative fact patterns for sure. So let me give people the framework that I apply when I break down any use of force case or any case I'm working on. And I get paid a lot of money to do this. And you'll be surprised to know, maybe, that there's only 5 things you need for self-defense. It's very simple. It's like a child's jigsaw puzzle with 5 giant pieces. It's not, the law's not complicated. And those 5 pieces are innocence, imminence, proportionality, avoidance, and reasonableness. That means innocence, you can't have been the initial aggressor or the person who provoked the fight. If you do that, you lose innocence, you lose self-defense. And by the way, all these elements are required. If any one of them is missing, you don't have self-defense. Whatever you did, it was not lawful self-defense. So another way to think of these is each of these elements I'm talking about is a target of attack for the prosecutor. So a prosecutor who knows what he's doing, he gets that investigative report from the detectives and he's thinking to himself, all right, I have to be able to disprove one of these beyond a reasonable doubt, and then I win. And the reason he wins is, if you think about it, when you claim self-defense, like Chud the Builder is going to be claiming, you're not saying it wasn't me. You're not saying I have an alibi. I wasn't there. You're saying the opposite of that. You're saying it was me. I shot that guy, but I did it in self-defense. Well, the prosecutor knows if he can defeat one of those required 5 elements and self-defense goes away, the only thing that's left of I shot that guy, but it was self-defense is I shot that guy. It's just a confession. So the prosecutor's looking at these 5 elements to see which one looks vulnerable to being disproven beyond a reasonable doubt. If you were the initial aggressor or the provoker, you lose innocence, you lose self-defense. Prosecutor knows that. The next is imminence. You have to be defending yourself against a threat that's either actually occurring in the moment or immediately about to occur. The fist is pulled back, the guy's reaching for a weapon. It can't be something that happened in the past. It can't be something that might happen in the future. Proportionality, and this could be a problem for Chud, is you can only use deadly defensive force if you're facing a deadly force threat. If you're only facing a non-deadly force threat, you can't use a gun to defend yourself against a non-deadly force threat. And usually a punch is going to be considered a non-deadly force threat. So that could be an issue here. Avoidance is the 4th element. That has to do with whether or not you have a legal duty to retreat before you can defend yourself. Tennessee, like most states, is a stand your ground state. So in otherwise lawful self-defense, you don't have a legal duty to retreat. But what if the self-defense is not otherwise lawful? What if it has some other defect? Then you, even in Tennessee, which was one of the first stand your ground states, you can reacquire a legal duty to retreat. And then finally, reasonableness. And this is a broad target of attack because it just asks generally, would a reasonable and prudent person do what you did? And let's face it, anyone who's a social media provocateur is doing a lot of stuff that's kind of outside the Overton window and does not look reasonable to a normie jury. I mean, just imagine a typical juror in this, little town in Tennessee.
Yep.
Most white people have been socially conditioned their whole lives to viscerally recoil if they were to see a white guy call a black guy the N-word to his face.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
They don't consider that normal. They don't consider that reasonable. So that could be an issue. Now, of course, we don't know that happened here, but so what the prosecutor's looking for is, well, if Chud provoked this fight, again, we don't know if that happened, but if it provoked the fight, that complicates Chud's claim of self-defense. That's a target for attack. If Chud went to the gun when a gun deadly defensive force was disproportionate, that's the element of proportionality, vulnerable to attack. And if Chud engaged in behavior that the prosecutor believes a typical juror in his district would find unreasonable, that's a target for attack for the prosecutor. So it depends on how the facts work out. If Chud provoked the confrontation, if Chud went to the gun when he shouldn't have, if Chud acted unreasonably, well, there's only 5 elements of self-defense, and now 3 of them are viable attacks for the prosecutor. Of course, if Chud didn't do any of that, if the facts we just heard recounted by Amiri were, he was basically innocuous, minding his own business, got attacked from behind, didn't provoke anybody, had reason to believe he was being threatened with a deadly force attack, which doesn't require death, but either death or serious bodily injury. And he had reason to believe this, that it wasn't speculative, it wasn't bare fear. Well, then he's got a very solid claim of self-defense, but we can't really know until we see evidence.
Lawyers speak in a very specific language to me, and the language of lawyers has always been so specific to me. For instance, you're not doom scrolling, you are occupying your free time with stimulus that actively enables you to combat your boredom. So, you use double speak, you enhance the language, and that's a very common tactic that a lot of lawyers use. And because the lawyer is using a lot of specific languaging, it's going to work against him. It's going to work against him. And we have the common anime profile picture people also going against this. It's been a while since the stories made me so livid. The words, "I hate this country," ran through my head. I had to walk it back. Because I know that's the wrong mentality. But by God, oh, here we go, God, what country do we have anymore? He's literally being punished because he's white. That's it. Why would this ever happen? Punished for being white? Disgusting. He was just white while walking. He just said the N-word to a black man. Now, this is also very important to me. I'd like to point this out for a moment. You can say the N-word. As a matter of fact, it's not illegal to say the N-word. It's not illegal to say a lot of words in America, realistically. The issue comes with intent of harm, intent behind the words, reasoning behind those words. A lot of things come with the intent behind the words. For instance, I can say pretty much anything I want to, right? I could say, well, it's insane to say, "I wish the president of the United States would get annihilated." No one should ever say that. I can say it. It depends on the context of what I'm saying it in. If I go up to the white person and I call him something that he knows that he hates, and I know he hates, well, guess what? That's me trying to initiate harm against the white man, essentially, right? If I was talking to my friend and I continually called him out of his name, called him a coward, provoked him, done that stuff, because you can't provoke anybody. The provocateur statute, that's what it is. People aren't acknowledging that. They think you have the right to offend, right? You have the right to be disgusting. A black person is not a government monarch. The freedom of speech was put in place so we could protest, so we could say what we want about the government without retaliation from said government. That's pretty much what it is. It was about the government, not to each other, not to the common person, not to the American people. The government's an entity. You can't go person to person and just start provoking people for a love of the game. It's not what you can't do that. That's not what it is. That classifies under a specific region of hate speech that is disgusting. You can't do that. And if you think you can, if you think that that is reasonable for your right to offend and piss people off, then by all means, do what you want. And watch how the law turns your words into the words of a provocateur, because people don't understand the law or freedom of speech. They just hear the words. They just hear the words freedom of speech and say, this is crazy. And we have people that the common actors coming out of nowhere. Kingdom Lee, here we go. The beautiful Kingdom Lee. Chud's bail is $1.25 million. This is a lot of money for defending himself against a black man who attacked him. He's still alive, by the way. Carmelo Anthony's bail, just using the whataboutisms. What about the other black person? What about if this happened with another black person? Every single court case is always going to be case by case. That's how it is. Depends on the reasonableness of the judge and how they operate. Chud had an actual message, but you guys didn't want to listen to the words he was saying. You didn't want to listen to him. So I want to break down Chud's message for a moment, because it's very important to me. Chud's message is an important thing. People should be allowed to say what they want to say. His message was that the white man has lost his power. The white man has lost the ability to be white. America's population right now is, last time I checked, 60% white and about 14 to 15% black people. Black people have a large monopoly when it comes to athleticism, when it comes to basketball, football, any ball sport technically. One of the greatest players of golf in history is Tiger Woods. As a matter of fact, I can't even name another golfer besides Tiger Woods and Arnold Palmer because of Arizona T. Arnold Palmer T is amazing. Only two golfers that I know. If you look at politics, I only know basically white politicians essentially. There's Clarence Thompson because he can be bought for anything. There's Kamala Harris. There's a few other black people. There's Barack Obama, but he's not really in politics more so. He's more of a previous politician. There's people that are in politics, but more often than not, you look at the history. If you look at the previous presidents, it's like a sea of salt and one speck of pepper. That's what you're going to see. That's obviously what you're going to see most of the time. All this is very interesting to me because the white man thinks they've lost power because black people have the right to actually have a voice because it is no longer unfair, right? Unfair. Then we got Tim Pool, amazing Tim Pool. Tim Pool says it don't matter. White people will never riot over this stuff. If the racists were reversed, the white guy would still be the one getting arrested. Interesting. How would this be reversed actually? How would this be reversed? I don't even know how it would be reversed. Don't really understand how that would happen. Tim Pool, I'd love for you to elaborate, but you refuse to. I know you're not going to. Now then, I'm actually very happy to see a lot of people and allies come together and see that Chud already has $170K for his legal fund. Years ago, before X, this would have never happened like that. It's not even close to true. It's not even close to true, actually. As a matter of fact, this probably would have happened in any era in American history. Doesn't matter what era you point to, this happened in any era of American history, this probably would have happened. It was a brief moment in American history where people say, well, blacks had it good. What do you mean? I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. This doesn't make any sense. I just don't understand. And people continually talk about black privilege. Now, this is really fun. I'm not sure what black privilege. I've never seen black privilege, but let me explain what black privilege is because a lot of people don't understand what black privilege is. So black privilege is after years of civil rights and hard fighting things and sit-ins at Nashville and Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and people asking Malcolm, why are you doing that? And Malcolm Z, because he went to sleep on the worries of white people, and that's what happens. We got the X, Y, and Z. We got all three axes. We got geometry growing. The math just doesn't add up to me and how this is happening. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Black privilege is one of the bigger problems in America. Bigger problems, black privilege. That black people finally have a voice, that black people finally won't take it sitting down, that black people will go on the streets and fight for their people and finally say enough is enough because we faced it for so long. And just to give you a little bit of hope, I would like to show you the GoFundMe of the black man that was shot. $155,000. Standing with Josh and his family after the shooting. If you look this up on GoFundMe, you'll be able to find it. Pretty easy to find. A lot of recent donations. Did it increase in the past I was making this video? It sure did. And we're going to hit that 200K goal. And this is set on automatic donations. So what happens is that once it reaches the 200K goal, it will automatically increase. Chud the Builder, however, is no longer there. He's just right here. He's stuck at 200K. So they're going band for band, blow for blow with donations. That's how it's going. Did Chuds increase during the duration of this video? Let's check it out. Let's see what happened during the duration of this video. But in the duration of this video, he raised $1,000, and it's been 23 minutes I've been recording. It's very important to me. I think it's very important to talk about the money being raised and support and outpouring support because it's half-half. It's equal on both sides. It's what it is. It's what it is. And I'd like to talk about something. This is a very important thing because I've watched movies such as Cats Don't Dance and Elemental and a lot of things are allegories for race. A lot of allegories for race. And I saw this post and I think it's very important. We gotta stop doing racism metaphors with species that are actually dangerous to each other. The Elementals, Clash, the Predator vs. Prey in Zootopia, Disney's zombie franchise. We need metaphors purely based on appearance. This is very important. It's a very important thing. Because people will see this and know it's a metaphor for race, but don't really know how to put it inside of their brain and compartmentalize it to actually do that. So with all this support I'm seeing for Chud the Builder, it harkens back to me growing up and listening to my father. My mother is half Arabic, half black. During 9/11, after that, she faced wild discrimination, causing her to denounce her face. My father, his entire life, has always faced racial discrimination in America. And when I was growing up in Detroit, one of the blackest places on earth, I experienced racism in leaps and bounds. I'd like to show you something. I'd like to show you what America was 40 years ago.
Stay out of Vider.
And why is that, man?
Because we're doing fine without them. We don't need them now. And if they move to Vider, there's just going to be a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's a white town. It's a white race. That's the way we want to keep it.
Cannot be counted, man. As a white man.
Most of the crowd cheered on the Klan speakers. They are horrified that a federal court will integrate a housing project in nearby Vider. Vider is an all-white town, and blacks are not welcome there.
Up with Vider! Up with freedom!
Folks sat outside to look and listen. The little ones waved innocently.
I think it's foolish.
Why is that?
Well, these people don't really have any right the way I feel about, coming down to Vider and claiming all this victory for Vider and everything. We're the ones that have to live with it.
Up with America!
The nationalist movement opposes civil rights and fair housing. They came to Vider applauding the federal government's failed attempts in desegregating the town's all-white housing project. 4 blacks tried moving in earlier this year, but later moved out, complaining of harassment.
We petition for the repeal of all laws which give favors to the few, preferences for the minorities, and privileges for the pampered.
Klansmen said they were here to swell pride, not spread hate. But some in the crowd weren't as convinced. No one wore a sheet, but some wore fatigues and waved rebel flags. Dixie blared and Klansmen preached.
I spent 10 years in the United States Army defending what I thought America was all about. I got out about a year ago. I come out here and I look and I see this guy standing up here wearing the same uniform that I put on every day for 10 years. It makes me sick.
100 law enforcement officials standing watch, there was little trouble. Just 2 minor arrests were made. And in the midst of all the shouting, the Grand Dragon calmly passed out balloons to a select crowd.
These are for white kids. White people only. I bought them and I'll choose who I wish to give them to.
Vider is viewed around the country as a racially tense East Texas town. Some natives disagree.
We don't have racists in this town. We have Americans, God-fearing, hard-working Americans. If y'all want to see the true story of Vider, Texas, why don't y'all go down here where the good Christians are praying?
We pray, give us the weapons to fight the good fight.
This prayer rally had just as many folks as the march did. They prayed for unity, and as these churchgoers put it, the defeat of evil.
That gives me street voice.
Does this sound any different than the language of today? Is this that far long ago? Does that seem racist to you? Maybe it doesn't seem racist to you. Maybe that seems natural. Maybe that's the natural order to you in your brain. Maybe in your mind you understand something. You say, oh no, Vider, Texas, that's how all of America should be. Whites, blacks, separate. America's a melting pot. A big cultural landscape, all these people coming together. As a matter of fact, you may not know this, and I'd like to tell you a little bit of history as I look you in the eyes when I say this. I have massive respect for what the initial idea of America was. As a matter of fact, I have an idea. I love the concept of what you guys initially tried to do with the first idea of what white was. Do you know what white is? See, white actually isn't really a race. White is an idea. What is an idea? When you first got to America, we had a bunch of people. We had the Geats, we had the Vikings, we had Europeans, we had people that were Norsemen, Scotsmen, we had Italians, and all these people fighting against each other. But one thing was common amongst all these people: well, you're all white. You all have the same skin tone. You guys are all good. But, the Danes hated the Geats, and they hated the Vikings, and they hated the Norsemen, and they all hated each other. It was all evil. They all didn't like each other. The pagans didn't like each other. Hold on now. Stop fighting. Stop fighting. Stop right there, America said. America said, what if we were all just one thing? Blank slate. A clean, white slate. So if you came to America and you were from a different country, whether it be European, you were Russian, doesn't matter what it was, you were Czechoslovakian, you were Scotsman, doesn't really matter, you were Welsh, you were Australian, but if you were white, you came with the same thing. Your nationality now is American. Fight for the idea of America. That was the initial thing of the melting pot. That was the initial idea for what the melting pot was. White mix, all together. That's what happened. But then, a lot of Asian people noticed, well, I'm white too. So the Asian people came over, but they said, oh, I don't want the Asian people here. And then all the whites agreed that we couldn't have Asian people, couldn't have this, couldn't have that. And then they didn't even view black people as people. This was a superior pet to white people. That's all they thought. So the initial idea of whiteness, the concept of white, was a blank slate. It was a blank slate to get all people coagulated together. That's what they wanted. because they didn't want all these different cultures and things. So here goes the promise of America. Get rid of your history. Get rid of all that stuff in the past. Get rid of all that thing. We have a new history, the history of America. That's what it was. It was beautiful for these people. Oh, amazing. Oh, this is great. I love this. This is amazing. So as long as we embrace whiteness, purity, cultural whiteness, we should be fine. And white people, you have culture. You have Zeus. You have Hera. You have Odin. You have Greek mythology. You have Norse mythology. You have so much history you can pull back in. The great epic Beowulf. You have so much. You have so much in the past of Charles Darwin and all these other things. So much beauty in the history of America. All the amazing innovations you've made. You speak of regality and kings and royalty, but you do not wish to go back into that history. You merely wish to talk about America. That's it. You disregarded all of your history in totality for the idea of whiteness. And that's what happened. That's where white came from. That's what happened. But then you bring black in there. Because, you know, white people felt guilty. And black people finally got the right to be free. They realized that, well, we can breed with these black people. They're human too. And they speak English. And because we taught them Christianity, they know good. Because Christianity was forced upon black people in the slave camps and internments. Because they had to rely on something. So they prayed to the very God that oppressed them. They prayed to the very words that annihilated them. And I don't think God himself is evil. I think the word of God is used to destroy and annihilate. I think that black Christians are stuck in this vertigo, nonsense, Stockholm Syndrome chokehold of the white man giving the religion to the black uneducated tribes. So they took it from Africa, came over, and then they finally got rights. This is way later. Finally got the ability to not be slaves. Slavery was outlawed. Not illegal, outlawed. Big difference between those two things. It was frowned upon to have slavery. So black people had to get jobs, but racist tension still existed. So black people came through and we invented the tipping system. So, well, if you like black people so much, you can give them money. I'm not going to pay this black person. I'll pay them a nickel an hour and you can give them any extra money you have in your back pocket. That's where tipping came from. Started off to make sure that people that were once slaves or were indentured servitude, as you like to call it, were actually getting paid a fair wage. That's the reality of the history of tipping. Little plot twist for you right there. Then black people said, okay, well, I want rights. While this is going on, women's suffrage was happening, and around the 1920s, women got the right to vote. 1920s, women got the right to vote. White women got the right to vote. Black people later got the right to vote in 1965. 1965, around that range. Don't believe me? Let me show you. This is the provisions of the Voting Rights Act. That's the whole thing. 1965, we resolved. There were Congress and they extended these provisions and kept going. Most recently, time 25 years. This is why it was so important for the Voting Rights Act. I'm just talking history for you to make you understand that it wasn't that long ago. This is very important. It's wrong, deadly wrong, to deny any of your fellow Americans the right to vote in this country. There is no issue of state rights or national rights. There is only a struggle of human rights. President Lyndon B. Johnson, 1965, and is safeguarding the rights of black voters and other minorities in America. That's why the Voting Rights Act was so important. It's the hardest fought safeguards for black Americans and other minority groups as it relates to voting. The power, agency, and access to vote is a civil right for all. This is important. This is very, very important. Now someone's going to come up and tell me and say, well, black people technically had the right to vote before that, but it was unfair. They had to add these provisions to make it fair. That is a DEI initiative. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 to ensure black voting correctly is technically a DEI initiative. And why was it a DEI initiative? Well, let me explain to you something right quick. I'll show you why it was a DEI initiative. Because of people, white people.
Before the settlement was announced, a stunning development. School District Attorney Cecil Morgan came out for a drink of water and he asked if I knew the difference between, and these are his words, quote, a and a pile of manure.
Oh, well, now, let's not get into that. I just tried to be funny.
You were just trying to be funny.
That's all.
How could you go in and continue these sensitive type negotiations after telling a joke like that?
Oh, well, I don't care to talk to you at all. I don't care if I ever talk to you again.
Of course, that would not surprise me. I have sensed that for at least the 20 years we've been in this litigation. I think that would be typical of his comment. I believe that would be typical of his attitude.
I deeply regret the unfortunate reports concerning a facetious story that I told to a group of reporters yesterday afternoon. It had no application to Mr. Davis, and I certainly did not intend in any way that it would relate to him.
Morgan, who's been avoiding cameras lately, is known as the Dean of School Law in Texas. His firm earns about $70,000 a year from Fort Worth schools, and they represent several suburban school districts. At age 79, he's more experienced than any other school lawyer in the state. The majority of board members decided they couldn't do without that experience. And so even though the school board doesn't condone Morgan's joke about black people, he is still the legal representative of the Fort Worth schools.
We find the report to be very thorough, comprehensive. We appreciate and compliment the accuracy, impartiality, and depth of the report, and compliment Mr. Cecil Morgan and Mr. Tom Carr on their thoroughness and the completeness of their job, which we consider well done. A public statement will be made in the near future after the board has had time to study the findings.
Several black and Mexican American groups wanted Morgan fired. They insisted the racial joke he made to reporters showed he isn't fit to represent the public schools. Morgan's showing no signs of wanting to retire. In fact, when reporters asked him about that, he shrieked his answer.
Oh, no! Is that clear?
Black groups say it is clear to them, and they don't like what they see.
Heil Hitler! Gestapo tactics. Good. You're taking away the freedom of people to speak in America.
It was a fight at the school board meeting, a fight not over the future of schools attorney Cecil Morgan, but a fight over the rights of citizens to speak to the board. The board refused to discuss Morgan's case publicly. School board members voted 7-2 not to fire attorney Cecil Morgan. Board members said public opinion in the form of letters, phone calls, and telegrams was in support of the elderly attorney, but that's not the opinion of the NAACP. No board member that I spoke with wants to see Morgan publicly humiliated, but most seem to feel that politically they cannot afford to let his racial jokes stand unchallenged.
This is very Christian, very devout, religious people going to and fro, fighting for what they feel is the right to be racist, the right to offend, the right to retaliation, fighting for the white man. This is what I see whenever I see people fight for the white man. This is what I see. And that's all I see. It's all I see over and over again. And I could do this all day. I could do this all day because it happened in 2026. It happens in the 2020s. And I'd like to show you that it still happens to this day without Twitter, without all this stuff. It keeps happening.
College educated people still tend to be more violent and criminal than white high school dropouts.
Really?
Yeah. The facts do remain that Negroes, children, do not perform as well in schools as white children. Now, you can ascribe whatever reasons you want, and they're arguable. But the statement I just made is not arguable because it's a matter of fact. The strengths of the Negro race do not lie in the field of academic achievement as a group. Again, making this generalization, which doesn't apply to individuals. Where then is its strength? In the fields of emotion, in arts, in music, and things of that kind.
If you lose the suit, if you lose the court case, what will happen?
Then I think Melbourne School District 12 will become a totally Negro community.
Why?
Because I think the whites will get out and the Negroes will come in.
It's important to note that interwoven into these tropes about community building and heritage celebration is a much more intense core, and one that embraces controversial and outdated race science.
The average IQ in some parts of sub-Saharan Africa is under 75, which is considered mentally disabled.
These tests were made for the purpose of figuring out who's going to do well in school. And it doesn't tell you about emotional intelligence, creative intelligence, common sense, wisdom. There's so much more to a person than just their IQ. I would say the major problem has been what's sometimes called scientific racism, but it's not really scientific. It's using the guise of science to advance racist views, because you sometimes get racial differences in different kinds of test scores, including IQ, that don't take into account where those differences may come from. It was convenient for some people to say, well, look, we can divide people by nationality or socially defined race or ethnic group or religion, into different IQ groups, and they probably believed themselves that it told you something, but it didn't tell you what they thought it told you. People with high IQs are often better at convincing themselves of whatever they want. So in other words, they use their IQ for self-justification. They're better at justifying whatever they want to believe. So if they have an ideology, they may have a very weird ideology, but they'll find ways to defend it even if it's not factually accurate.
A while back, someone told me that the reason my hair coils is because my blood flow is restricted and that I'm stupid, which is really fun. I enjoy this information about myself. I had no clue about this, and that my skull shape, the specific skull shape that I have, is not fit to academia in any capacity. It's not. I didn't know that. This is all so fun to me. It's this very fun racial science of phrenology, and Chud the Builder to me proves that America has always been and will remain to be racist until we get these initiatives going through. And with people such as Donald Trump going against DEI initiatives and undoing all the hard work and hard-fought work of America just to pressure up and push back up the white man to disvalue and disenfranchise other races, it's horrifying. I do understand the mindset of people that say, well, I think that we need to have equal people. We need to do it merit-based and based on your actual skill. We can't do that in America yet. We don't have the ability and power to do that in America yet. We don't have that strength because people still based on skin color, race, and other factors that are biases. We want to do it logic-based, but humans are not logical creatures. We are horribly emotional creatures. I'm a horribly emotional creature. I'm a man, I'm emotional. It could be a woman and emotional. You could be non-binary and emotional. It doesn't matter what you are. We are emotional. Your favorite flavor of ice cream, your preference in women, your preference in man, your preference in animal, your preference in decor style. It's all emotional based. It's all based on a bias, based on the social, economical factors around you, based on the biases inside of your emotional state. That is how you operate. The reason you don't want to go out, the reason you don't want to go to work, all emotional based, and you use logic to justify it. Well, I don't feel good. Emotional reaction. And then you use logic. If I go to work and I don't feel good, then I'll perform worse, so I should call off and use my PTO. Every single decision you make is emotional first and then logic based second. And people are using racial logic to use this backing. That's how it's always been. It's just how it works. And I can show you countless things like this, and I will show you countless things like this.
You go into a crowd of white strangers, there's some danger. Black strangers, there is 30 times more danger. Them's the facts.
I'm afraid of them.
Of who?
Of them, the blacks. I'm afraid to go out at night.
What harm could they do? What's wrong with them?
They're black. That's what's wrong with them. And the way I feel, black and white don't mix, and it's never going to mix.
There were a lot of really good people who were and are racist. And I don't know how you explain or justify, or a lot of people wouldn't even accept the fact that you can be both. But in my belief, you can. For instance, there were a lot of people who were willing to, when Emmett Till was murdered, there were people who were willing to accept the fact that, I don't remember if they said it was a prank or what, but I mean, there were stories that this didn't really happen before they found the body. And there were people who were willing to accept that. The same kind of attitude was with almost everything, where there was not an immediate finding of a body. There was always this thing, this is something somebody's made up, just a lot of denial. A lot of people who didn't want to believe that this sort of thing would happen and would refuse to accept the fact that it was happening. There was a real fear that if you let blacks get control, everything would change. And there was some higher level of trust, even of dishonest or corrupt white politicians, than of a black in some position of authority over you, for people who had grown up with these myths and fears, so that it was easier to stick with somebody that you might not have even cared for, who was white.
I've lived my entire life under the ideals my father has instilled into me. My father has been maimed, he has been dragged by his neck by cars, he has fought his entire life for many powerful things. And I'd like to show you my father if I could. I'd like to show you my dad.
This time last year,
I make my own trail mix, and my ingredients for my trail mix have went up like almost 15 to 20% more. And So, yeah, this economy is really, it's hitting a high point.
Cornelius Whaley says he used to spend $15 to $20 just to make his trail mix. Now, when he steps up to the checkout counter for these ingredients, it typically adds up to $35. Whaley's also noticed a huge spike in eggs and meat.
You have to really know what you want, to, and know how much you want, because if you, sticker shock will get you.
That man, now concerned about grocery prices and the rising cost of everything, is my dad. Whaley. It's my dad. I'm a Whaley. I'm a Saros Whaley. Dad named me that. Very happy and proud of my name. Very happy and proud of my lineage. Very happy and proud of that man. Despite the horrors he wrought upon me in my childhood, he instilled in me the mindset that you shouldn't hate people. As a matter of fact, never hate people. Hate ideas. Hate ideals. Hate ideologies. Because the people are influenced by the ideologies, and you are not a person to a lot of people. You're black. You're not Saros, Lambiant, Bausbub, Kaiser, Whaley. That's not you. You're not Ceros de Grandes. That's not you. It's my name, by the way. It's not you. You're just black. That's all you are. You're not an individual. And they may value you on an individual basis. They may find you articulate and intelligent and amazing. But you gotta remember, to a lot of people, before you're human, you're black. And before you're black, you're an N-I-double-G-A. And I think of that all the time. I think of what he said to me. I think of how his mindset felt so powerful to me when I was growing up, and it inspired me to continue and speak and try my best to understand people and do my best to hear people out. And I think I've gotten my answer. So imagine you had a pet, not like a beloved family dog, a working dog, a dog you bred for labor, bought and sold, separated from his family when it sued you. You told this dog that it was less intelligent, less feeling, less human than you. You built buildings with this dog's labor. You accumulated wealth that this dog could never touch. 200 years of this. 200 years of using this dog. 200 years of the dog building your world while you told yourself the dog was lucky to be fed. Then one day, the dog learns to talk. Oh, hold on. Strange. The dog asks for basic dignity. You resist, but the dog keeps asking. And eventually, you reluctantly agree to let the dog vote. But the dog says, okay, there's just one word you cannot call us, a word you used while you kept us in change, a word that burns in a lot of the dog's ears. Just don't say that one word, right? This is important. And your response oftentimes is to argue, to demand evidence that the word still hurts, to insist that you should be allowed to say it because you invented the word. You invented the word. Because you have free speech, and this whole country is founded on the ability to say whatever you want. Because the dog is too sensitive. You do not understand why the dog cannot just let it go. You have to give the dog voting rights after all. What more does the dog want? The dog looks at you and sees the houses you built with his grandparents' labor, the bank account you inherited from the system you designed to keep its family poor, the movies that never showed his face unless it was serving someone like you, the schools that taught its children less because the funding came from its neighborhoods and not yours, the head start you pretend you earned instead of inherited. And the dog is tired. The dog has been explaining this for generations. The dog has watched you nod along, claim to understand, then turn around and whisper the word when you think no one is listening. A dog has seen you test the boundaries. Say it in private, say it in a joke, say it in a song lyric you claim you were just quoting. Say it because you want to know what will happen. The dog knows that your desire to say the word is not about free speech. It is about control. It is about the discomfort of being told no by someone you were thought was beneath you. It is the loss of a world where you could say anything without consequence. You want to say the word because saying it feels like reclaiming something you never lost. You had power. You had wealth. You had the institutions. You had the benefit of the doubt in every room, every interview, every application, every interaction with police. The dog had none of that. The dog only had the word. That is a dog's privilege. The word was not a weapon when the dog reclaimed it. The word was a scar. A scar you kept picking at. A scar you insist is not a scar because you cannot see the wound anymore. Well, you have all this fur, and the fur grew back. However, the wound did not heal. The dog will keep asking you not to say it. The dog will keep being disappointed when you argue. The dog will keep wondering why this word matters so much to you. You have everything. You have 200 years of head start. You have generational wealth. You have movies and music and banks and buildings and the benefit of the doubt. The dog has one word. One word that means, I see you, I remember, I am still here. You cannot even give the dog that. You cannot even let the dog have one word without demanding a share. That is not equality. That is a dog that learned to talk and a master who never learned to listen. You're master, right? Oh, master, oh, this, oh, that. And I'm one of the good ones, aren't I? Right? I'm not one of the good ones. This is horrifying. And we have to put in place all these things for the dog to get a little bit of help. We have to do all these things. Say, okay, well, the dog can have these initiatives, and we'll call them DEI. Dogs eat intelligently. We'll call it that. Dogs eat intelligently. And we'll let the dogs eat. Dogs will eat. This will be amazing. Then everybody says, well, why are we giving the dog benefits and we don't get any benefits? Where are the laws for us? The laws have always been for you. We're now giving laws for the dogs as well. No, that's not fair. Well, I want specific laws for me. They have privilege. You've had privilege your entire lives. No, I haven't. Well, I've never benefited from anything. Okay. Well, you've never benefited from it? Not once. I'm poor. I'm poor and working. And my family struggles just like those dogs over there. Well, yeah, we're all poor and struggling, and that's fair. But you have a better chance of not struggling. That's not true. I've never experienced it. Well, when you go for a bank loan, I get that bank loan and I pay it back, but I still I'd be in debt if I don't pay it back. The dog can't even get the loan. Well, he should work harder. That's what he should do. Let me explain something to you very importantly. I think white privilege, and this is very important, it is not the abundance of opportunity. No one's coming up to you and giving you all these things. It is the absence of obstacle. That's it. You don't have any obstacles. There's no obstacles in your rise to the top. Right? The dog is not your equal yet. It's not because the dog is less capable, it's because you spent 2 centuries making sure the dog started the race in a different zip code with different shoes, different nutrition, different expectations, different chances to fail. Equality is not a word you get to say after a lifetime advantage. Equality is an outcome you work toward. It is not achieved the moment you stop actively harming. It is achieved when the harm is repaired. The word is not the repair. The word is the minimum. We are asking for the minimum. I do not hate Chud for saying the N-word. I despise how he uses the N-word and weaponizes it. That's it. That's it. The minimum is not a negotiation. I'm not negotiating the word. The minimum, the bare minimum, the federal minimum wage, that is the floor. Step over it. Leave the word alone. The dog acts nicely. The dog has been asking nicely for a very long time. You may be asking yourself, why do I use the word dog? That's so dehumanizing. We are seen as a very superior pet, is what I remember hearing, right? Very superior pet.
Family has lived for 8 generations since 1672. Norwood Hasty was asked if he thinks slavery was immoral.
No, I don't. When a slave came from Africa, he couldn't speak the language. He was totally untrained to do any job at all that would fit in with the civilization. Someone had to take care of him. Someone had to take care of him 24 hours a day. And it's pretty hard to do that unless you owned a person. So I think slavery just had to be in those early days.
Every man, woman, and child in Mississippi can rationalize how they have always been friends to the colored man. All of a sudden they wake up here one morning and are told that the way they've operated for the last 100 years is wrong. This is a hard thing to just tell a man that he spent his life doing something wrong. He doesn't have to believe it. And then all of a sudden, if you live in Mississippi and run a cotton plantation, you're supposed to be some kind of demon. This system was based on noblesse oblige by the landowner. But I don't have 83 families anymore that I feel like I'm the daddy of. I do not expect to ever have this relationship with the younger generation, the children of these men. They are oriented entirely differently. They grew up in the 50s. They're conscious of the change in the status quo. They are fairly confused about what their position is. They don't want to be subservient.
From when I saw my mother and father and my brothers do while I was growing up, I feel that I don't want any of my kids to come in a world like this, because I know some days I saw my mother slaving from 6 in the morning in hot sun, 100-degree weather, from pulling a hoe in a field from 6 until night, with about an hour's break between us all this time, and my father doing labor that machines wouldn't even be made to do hardly. The labor's that bad, and I feel that if we've been working this long and can't even own the shirts on our back, Mississippi's going to either have to change or there can be no more Mississippi. And we have to do this in any means as possible. Through our parents, we've earned Mississippi. It's no question about it, brother. You tell me I don't own anything she sweated on? I mean, how can that be? How can it be?
The white man does not want to give over his institution, and that's what people fear that would happen. You just don't want to turn over the reins of everything and give up control. Who wants to give up control?
Miles, we're out. Okay, guys, get in the car. Let's go.
Would you paint a picture for us of what it was like on the plantation in your early days?
Everyone was happy. We never heard of all these things that we hear about today. And then it's no disgrace to say they're like children. When we say that, it's because they are like happy children, some of them. Because they like to sit in the sun and rather than work hard. My father had everything thoroughbred, from the pigs, horses, the dogs, and the people had to be thoroughbred.
As far as the colored people were concerned, I feel that they were a good bit happier than they are now. They had less in the way of material things. I can remember back in their 20s, when I was a small boy, they were always singing at their work. They had a great sense of humor. And now today, they just don't seem to care much about that as they used to.
What do you think are the differences between the races?
I think there's a refusal to accept responsibility. I think there's a lack of motivation. They don't worry like the white man. If they have troubles, they go to sleep and wake up the next morning, and that trouble is over.
Is it possible that white people have something to do with the lack of ability for blacks to assimilate into this culture?
Absolutely. But customs die awful hard. It takes a long time. And everyone knew years ago that the Negro would have to be given equality. But in the South, it's been compared to straightening teeth. It takes a slow, steady pressure. You can't do it with a hammer. And white people's attitudes will change in time. I'm a lot more liberal than I was 5 years ago, and I know I'll be a lot more liberal 5 years from now, and I think almost everyone else is in that category.
What has tended to make you more liberal?
Well, realization that the Negro is a human being like anyone else.
Mr. Hasty, what did you think we were before you began to think of us as human beings?
Well, in a way, we thought of you almost as a very superior pet.
Despite all the things I've shown you here today, despite all the things I've said, I do not think insulting people or tearing them down or wishing ill upon the children of future generations of white people and calling them evil just for being born is the correct way to do so. We will only continue the cycle of hatred and continue it further down. I know the horrors of the past. I've experienced the horrors of the present, and I've seen the nonsense and justifications by hundreds of racist people that justify the nonsense of tearing down DEI and America First and the white man getting their power back, and I've seen it over and over again. And currently in our administration, we have horrifying nature of things going on, and there's always this racial division, and it has never left this country. It's not new. I hate when people say I've never seen this before. It's so new to me. It's ignorant. It's wildly ignorant. This is how it's always been. This is what I've seen. This is the reality of the world and how it has always been for quite some time. And I pity racism. I pity the white people who justify it using the name of the Lord, God holy he is. I pity all the people that worship the Lord and use his name in ways that are unfathomable. I pity the delusional people who think they are good and racist. I pity all this. I pity the contradictory nature of human beings. And I pity you, Chud the Builder. For you think that saying this racist language and re-invoking this is reclaiming something you feel you have lost. You are initiating a protest to a protest. And I hate that for you. I hope that you remain in prison for the rest of your life until time infinitum. I hope that the mindset that you have falls with you. Have a lovely day or night wherever you're at. And I'm out. Peace. Bye.
I'm your Nick and Night, be my Laurel Angelo. Ooh, happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. Ooh, I love the ride when you